The recycling department started the way because one of the Endeavour operations that are considered as Endeavour Industries, business services, is a department that actually engage into collecting the donations. So there's donations from the public in the various different ways using the the donation bins or curbside collections and a number of different sources where we can do it. So from the donations, we're trying to create an income there. As being a non-profitable organization, the income is used to help in commercial sense to sustain the business and help. So the donations that are not quality good or donations that can't pass the quality standards will be considered as an option for recycling. For example, the number of initiatives has been here, like industrial cleaning cloth. These are the items that can have the issue with quality, like for example, like big stain on the item. We'll consider like this an issue. We can't sell that in the regular ways through our shops or export. But we can use it if it's cotton, cutting it through. So this means that's a way of recycling, a renewal of that resource through a different way of reusing it again. So recycling started with the establishment of the operation that works with the donations from the public and creating a income from that. So in that sense, we are then recycling, considered as a recycling operation. Yes, so we're collecting the stock, as I said, every day from, as I said, various sources, and one of the most dominant sources is the donations bins. It's an ordinary, traditional way to source the donations and works well with the public, placing the bins on the position that are countable in specific areas. So the stock is donated to the operation, delivered by the trucks, and then the stock is going to a processing line. In a processing line, we're determining what type of stock is that and where it's going to be processed or what would be at the final destination. So there are three critical areas of recovery in that sense, which we believe that are most dominant. We are never tired to find the new sources of recycling. Because we are very keen, but there are other issues that we can talk later about, other issues which doesn't allow us to be really a high percentage of recycling, because we're looking at the infrastructure that are related to that industry in Queensland or in Australia or around the world at this point is not reasonably developed. So what we do, we process, as I said, donations in three major areas where we found it most important to be best as a value. And as most dominant, the reason for our establishment was to support Endeavour retail operation, Endeavour stores, that our garment of the best qualities are sold through the operation and gain the best income from them. So these are ERC centers, we call them ERC centers, which are Endeavour Recycling Centers, where the stock is sold direct to a public through the shop option as a second-hand stores that actually create the best value for the income. The second best source of income is the exporting to overseas markets. That's most contributing in volume. Exporting about 38% is most contributing in volume from all recoveries, but it's definitely much less rewarding in sense of price. So selling through the shop options, Endeavour shop options, that's the best value, that's the best dollar that we can achieve per kilo. When we're selling through the export, we're talking about 15 to 20 times less achieving per kilo than we should achieve in the shop. So export market is a market that allows us to go really to work with low quality items. They're still sellable. So that's why the volume of recovery is very high. The volume of recovery is very high. So where this is a very important area in a contribution to the income. So exporting is most important when we're talking about recycling. We consider this as a major part of recycling. So imagine if you're processing, for example, 1.5 million kilo and 40% of it, that's a very huge volume, 600 to 700 tons every year we export overseas. So this is the best recycling what we can find. So in the third area that is significant in recovery of these three main sources of income and our activity to recycle is the cutting the industrial cleaning cloth. So that area is again one of the smaller percentage areas. We're talking about 12 to 14% annually out of the donations, because of the simple reason that rags or industrial cleaning cloth requires to be a cotton-based fabric, absorbent, high percentage absorbent fabric. So that is a problem that we recover what we have, but that's again related to the industry standards and changes to the fabrics, modernizing and standardizing the new ways and looks, creating the cotton not anymore that dominant. The cotton is most dominant fabric still in entire donations and outcomes. We're finding is 23%, the largest of the all fabrics. But as I said, there are specific circumstances what qualifying to be a cleaning cloth, what is the rags, and size and thickness and styles. Also needs to be a clear of plastic and buttons and stickers and paintings and all that. So those three areas are main areas where the recovery is happening. There is a minimum justification. As I said, there are about 4 different quality levels that are sold through the export. There are very low levels of quality which are tolerable depending on the position and the destination where it goes. For example, some African markets allows lower quality stock that is actually stock based on high wearable, strong peeling, loss of colors and stuff, but still wearable and contains the full function of use. In Australia, there would be no market for something like that unless it's a cotton that we cut in the industrial cleaning cloth. But considering that export is one of the most developing industries in the world and very dominant, and so we're exporting one of those qualities, which is, we call them A-grade quality. There are, as I said, 4 different areas in quality levels, from A, AA, AAA, and premium stock in export markets. The A quality is mostly related to resellers. They buy the big, large containers full of that and they're reselling it around. When we're talking about the premium export, we're talking about more direct sale to our shop owners overseas. They're interesting only to put that in their own shops. So they're targeting a quality, high quality stock. So this is what differentiate between. So, but you wouldn't have the market in Australia. That certainly wouldn't justify. Not even you wouldn't have a market in Australia for even high quality export. So that's usually the stock that is exported overseas for various countries. Dominantly Africa, largest market, and then we have a South Asian market that we are very good at it, and operations through Dubai and even Europe. The percentage is changing year to year depending on our activity and then the business influence. But in reality, if we would look at the average and expectation from the Australian industries, as I said, it's locally determined depending on the business requirements and runs and plans and KPIs. But average recovery, we're talking about, for example, specifically, if we look at the 100 ton of stock, we can look at the endeavor, but I mean not to expose the figures to publicly what we're processing. We'll take just an example of 100 ton. So the 100 ton, we're talking about that every 100 ton we will have about 12 ton or 12% the high quality stock that will go to shops, to our stores. That's an average 10 year. We're not talking about now, or we're talking 15 years ago. So about 12% will represent a quality stock that will be justified by the second-hand stores in Australia. When we're talking about the export, the stock that goes to export, the stock that will contribute to those 4 different areas, we're talking between 35 and 40%. So 35 to 40 ton of that 100 ton will go the overseas. That's we're talking about the volume that is significant about the recycling. Even stock in the stores, in our shop operations, will be considered as a recycling because we didn't throw that away or something. But this is what is the most significant volume. In percentage, we're talking 35. We currently operate at 38% of it. And then we're talking about industrial cleaning cloth, considering the requirements with the cotton and requirements of the other requirements for industrial cleaning cloth. We're talking about between 12 and 14% that vary from the year to year, 12 to 14% recovery in that area. And that's where those kilos and percentages lie. If you look 100 ton, for example, as a basic example. So we're talking shops 12%, export 35 to 40, and the rags between 12 and 14%, representing the outcome or recovery from that 100 ton. The rest is considered waste. We're looking at the options to reduce that waste on a number of projects. Firstly, we've been looking to see as a major components of that waste is the polyester. It's a steel clothing, because the clothing that is the most dominant donated goods. So when you're looking, what is that in the clothing that is not something we can recover? If we have the item that is not good, it's ripped or, okay, if it's a rip, why don't we take him to a Rex and cut him into industrial cleaning cloth? We can't because it's polyester. So just to confirm what I said about the cotton, 23% is the most dominant fabric that represent donations. The same value is related to a polyester, the same 23%. Polyester and the blends. So what means that polyester contribute heavily in donations, and it's not attractive in sense of recycling. So when we're looking at the various projects and things, and one of your fellow colleagues from your university, from QUT, did a study in that to try to help, and then the study found that it's definitely issue in relation to infrastructure. The available resources to recycle polyester are related to non-existence actually in the Australian soil, and there are significant issues in that area in the world. So there are not much of in that sense. We certainly see much more works in that area in different countries, South America, or United Kingdom, or in Japan, but certainly not here. So the polyester is actually the something we have a serious need to look at it and find solutions how to recycle that. There are some changes. We have a data that I'm collecting the data about 15 years. We have a data that's showing a different approach to that. That's very important to understand. We're seeing a less quality now. We're seeing much less quality, much more issue with the growth of waste. The percentage of waste is growing. As I said, the number of factors that we discussed before contributed to it. Definitely issues are related to donations quality. Also, the presence it's hard to say that we are considered as a dumping ground in sense of that a lot of people use the opportunity, and I think it's also related to us and our ability to provide the best information and educate the donor to understand what is the difference between this and that. So I have to admit that maybe we should do more in that area, so to provide more choice to a donor to understand what. But definitely from the point of analyzing the data, we're seeing the less quality and much more issues for us to sustain the businesses in relation that recovery will justify our service and being viable to sustain the business. That's present, especially last few years. We're seeing deterioration in the quality. So this makes a difference. We had much more, also better approach to sales in, for example, mid-2000, 2007, 2008. We have the best approach of the public to buying our product. Now that's another issue that because there are two direct problems that we're facing. Is firstly poorer donations, poorer quality, and less attractive buying option for customers through our stores, and that can be also linked to each other.